There's a moment almost everyone knows. You speak and no one reacts. You send a message and it gets ignored. You walk into a room and feel like you disappear. Most people think the problem is confidence, or charisma, or status. Carl Jung believed the reason is deeper. He wrote that what we fail to recognize in ourselves shapes how others respond to us. Not in a mystical way, in a psychological one. What if people ignore you not because you're unimportant, but because parts of you are hidden, divided, or held back? By the end of this video, you'll understand why this keeps happening and what begins to change the moment you stop doing one thing. Jung spent years studying why some people naturally command attention while others fade into the background. He wasn't looking at popularity. He was looking at the structure of the psyche, and he noticed a pattern. The more disconnected a person is from their inner world, the less solid they appear on the outside. Not weaker, just less defined. Think about the last time you wanted to say something but didn't. You softened your words. You avoided tension. You chose to stay agreeable. On the surface, that looks polite. But Jung would say something else is happening. When you suppress reactions, opinions, or impulses repeatedly, they don't disappear. They move into what he called the shadow. The shadow isn't something dark or evil. It's simply everything you hide to be accepted. Your anger, your ambition, your need for recognition, your desire to take space. When too much of you lives in that hidden space, the version of you that remains visible becomes faint. Not fake, just incomplete. People don't consciously decide to ignore someone. They react to signals. And when your presence feels uncertain or overly adjusted, others sense it immediately. Jung saw this again and again. People who tried hardest to be liked often felt most invisible. They were kind, helpful, cooperative, but they had no clear center, no stable sense of self being expressed. Without that center, others struggle to register you as someone with weight. You're there, but not fully there. Imagine someone who agrees with everything, never challenges, never asserts, never risks disagreement. At first, they seem easy to be around, but over time, they fade into the background. Not because they lack value, because they hide it. Jung believed that respect begins when a person becomes whole. Not perfect, whole. Wholeness means acknowledging the parts you avoid, recognizing your reactions, allowing your thoughts to exist without immediately suppressing them. When you start doing that, your presence changes. Quietly, you stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for small things that don't require an apology. You stop shrinking your opinions before they're even heard. And people begin to feel the difference. This doesn't mean becoming aggressive or dominant. Jung wasn't talking about dominance. He was talking about integration. He described individuation as the process of becoming yourself. Not the version that pleases everyone. Not the mask that avoids conflict. Yourself. He called that mask the persona. It's the version of you designed to function in society. At work, with friends, online. The persona is useful. Everyone has one. The problem starts when the mask becomes your entire identity. When you're so focused on being acceptable that you lose contact with what's real underneath. Then something fragile forms. Criticism feels overwhelming. Silence feels like rejection. Being ignored feels like proof that you don't matter. Because your sense of self depends entirely on how others respond. Jung warned that when someone is fully trapped in their persona, they become easy to overlook. Not because others are cruel, because there's no solid core being expressed. People sense authenticity without thinking about it. When someone speaks from a place of alignment, their words carry weight. Not louder, not dramatic, just clear. There's no split between what they think and what they show. That coherence creates presence. Think of someone you respect. They don't rush to fill every silence. They don't explain themselves endlessly. They don't chase approval in every interaction. They speak simply. They listen. They respond when it matters. Jung would say that clarity comes from integration. When your inner world is less divided, your outer presence stabilizes. And stability naturally draws attention. Here's the deeper mechanism. Being ignored often starts internally before it appears externally. You ignore your own reactions, your own limits, your own discomfort. You feel irritation but smile. You feel disagreement but nod. You feel the need to speak but stay silent. Each time, a small split forms. Over time, those splits create a fragmented presence. Jung saw this everywhere. In families, in workplaces, in relationships. The person who never asserts themselves becomes easy to overlook. Not because they lack intelligence or ability, because they don't fully occupy their own space. When you don't occupy your space, someone else will. Not intentionally, just naturally. But something shifts the moment you begin acknowledging your inner world. You don't need dramatic confrontations. You don't need to change your personality. You need awareness. Jung called this making the unconscious conscious. Noticing what you feel, recognizing what you think, owning what you want, even in small moments. You express a mild disagreement. You speak without over-justifying. You allow a pause instead of rushing to fill silence. These small actions signal integration, and integration signals presence. People may not know why they start responding differently, but they will. Humans respond to coherence, to individuals who feel internally aligned. When you become more whole, external validation loses its grip. You're no longer chasing attention. You're expressing something real. And paradoxically, that's when attention begins to come back. Not forced, not demanded, just recognized. Jung also spoke about the self with a capital S, the deeper center of the psyche, the part that organizes everything into a unified whole. When you live disconnected from that center, you react constantly. You adjust to everyone. You shape yourself to match expectations. When you move closer to it, you stabilize. Your tone becomes steadier. Your words simplify. Your presence becomes consistent. Consistency builds recognition. People stop overlooking you because you stop overlooking yourself. This is the hidden mechanism. Being ignored is often the external result of internal division. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions align, your presence strengthens. Not through force, through coherence. You don't need to demand attention. You naturally hold it. Because people feel when someone is fully there. Not performing, not shrinking, just present. Jung didn't promise popularity. He pointed toward wholeness. And wholeness has weight. When you stop hiding parts of yourself, your voice steadies. Your decisions become clearer. Your energy becomes more defined. And the world responds to clarity. Not instantly, but consistently. If you've been feeling ignored, don't rush to reinvent yourself. Start by noticing where you hold back, where you minimize yourself, where you hide reactions just to stay comfortable. Each moment of honesty strengthens your presence. Each moment of integration makes you more visible. Over time, the pattern shifts. You're heard more. You're noticed more. You're respected more. Not because you forced anything, because you became more whole. If this content helps you understand yourself and human behavior, support the channel with a like and subscribe for more videos on philosophy and practical psychology.